Welcome to Adventures in Furniture Flipping, presented to you by the Crafty Creech. My name is Crystal, and in today's video, I am going to paint this chair and put on these furniture transfers. Please make sure you watch all the way to the end because I'm going to be giving you so many tips, so many pointers, as well as what not to do. This thing's gross. It was free. Found it on the side of the road. You can't beat free. Let's see if I can fix it and make it beautiful. It's a really cool looking chair. It's unique. It swivels. It turns. I like it. Feels like it's got good bones too. It's just, it needs a lot of work. A lot of TLC. There's a cigarette burn hole here. Or cigar, I don't really know. Something burnt it. I gave it a really good scuff sand, but I did something really dumb and I didn't wear my respirator mask, and now my lungs are bothering me. You guys, it is so important. Invest in a good respirator mask and wear it. Very important to protect your lungs. I am getting ready to carpet shampoo or upholstery shampoo this thing is grody. It is so nasty. I sprayed the heck out of it with this carpet stain remover and cleaner, and I'm going to try and get this all out. I'm concerned that, well, first of all, I want the chair to be clean, but I'm also concerned that the stains might cause the paint to be different colors where the stains are and the discoloring. I think somebody probably smoked in this chair. I think this was their smoking chair. But this thing is awesome. It's so heavy duty and sturdy, and it's a really cool chair. I really hope I can save it. That's nasty. I've never made any repair like this before, but what I started out doing was I just cut off any of the burned edges on the seat where the cigarette burn was, and then I cut a piece of duck cloth that had a sort of a similar texture into a circular shape that would fit over top of the burn hole. I would recommend using a smaller pair of scissors if you have them. These were the sharpest scissors I have, and they were just a little bit too bulky and kind of hard to cut the burned off areas on the upholstered seat where the hole was. I took this product that stops fraying and I applied it to the edges of the upholstery on the seat, as well as to the edges of the patch that I made. This should stop any of the threads from pulling apart on your patch, as well as on the upholstery on the seat in the future. I let everything dry completely before I moved on to my next step, and that is gluing on the patch. So as you can see, the stains lightened a little bit, but they sure are still there. I'm using the color Joyful by Wise Owl. This is their chalk synthesis line. Look how pretty it is. This is my daughter's favorite color. So I'm planning on giving her this chair. All right, I'm going to paint the wood first before I start on the fabric of the chair. I'm letting that dry a little bit. What a pretty color. This is really the third upholstery project I have ever tried painting. I'm taking some extra steps on this chair in particular than I took previously before in the past. So this is relatively a new experience for me and a new project for me, especially with the furniture transfers. I've never done that before on a piece of upholstery, although I have put furniture transfers on furniture a few times. This is completely new. A lot of this I am just kind of winging it and doing what I think is going to work. I really love just to try new things out and to be creative in ways I haven't before. It's a great way to learn and to grow. And of course, it's a whole lot of fun. After my fray check dried on both the seat and on my patch piece, I took some flexible glue, and this is fabric glue, and I just kind of filled that little hole up with glue, and then I took some permanent fabric adhesive and I took that around the edge of my cut piece in the upholstery, and then I put my patch piece on top of it. I lightly tapped everything down, then I let that all dry for about a day, I would say, and it turned out okay, I'd say. Not great, but definitely better than a big giant burn hole. All right, so I'm mixing my paint with some water to thin it down and make it more of a dye. I'm really, if I'm being honest, I'm just winging this. I'm not sure the exact ratio, as I've done so much research that everyone says something different. I put about a cup of paint and about a quarter of a cup of water. I'm stirring it really good. It's pretty liquidy, if you can see that. Just gonna try it out and see what happens. I have this mister bottle that I'm going to be using while I am painting this to keep my fabric wet. Just keep mixing it, get it nice and stirred up in there. All right, here it goes. I'm gonna start on the back here. Okay, I'm gonna take my spray bottle. It's actually a mister bottle. This is the brand. It was like $5 on Amazon. I don't think I want it soaking wet. Okay. Looks like it's going on pretty evenly. I'm using my brush and just going in all different directions, trying to work that paint down into the fabric. I waited overnight for my paint to dry fully, and I noticed the fabric on the chair was kind of hard and kind of stiff. And there are all these like little textured areas. They almost look like polka dots or something like that. They all felt like little teeny tiny spikes. So I had to do something, and I thought that I could try and wet sand everything. So I grabbed my spray mister bottle and a 120 grit sandpaper sanding disc, and I started out by just spraying down my fabric with my mister bottle, and then I took my sanding disc and I worked in circular motions and up and down motions just to try and knock off some of that hardness. I instantly noticed a huge difference. It completely took away the stiff, hard feeling on the fabric. There was no more spikes. It worked so good. I just kept spraying and sanding and working in small sections. Then I would take my hands and I would rub it along parts of the chair to feel if they needed any more sanding, and then I would spray it again and sand it again. The upholstery definitely isn't as soft as it once was when I first started before I painted everything, but now it almost feels just like a stiffer upholstery, maybe even almost like a drapery curtain or something like that. This chair is already a huge improvement than it was when I started. This color is so springy and it's so bright, and I just love it so much. It's really going to bring so much joy to my daughter, I think. I went ahead and waxed the fabric because I thought that the transfer needed to be put on a sealed surface. Come to find out, that is not the case. Waxing this was really not a good idea. You are going to see in a few minutes when I apply the transfer that it had a difficult time sticking to my fabric. Some of my transfers went on really well and some of them didn't. And trying to troubleshoot what could have caused this, I'm assuming that it was either the wax or maybe the wax just wasn't cured. I'm really not sure.
If you have any idea what I possibly could have done wrong, I'd love to hear down in the comments why you think my transfers weren't sticking. This is a complete first time for me, and I have no idea what could have gone wrong. I did notice that as soon as I applied the wax, the fabric became even softer and more pliable. So that was really good.
My furniture transfer is here. I'm super excited to try it. This came from Canterbury Creations on Etsy. Really careful when you unroll them, not to shift them. Ah. Oh my gosh, I love these.
Once you figure out your placement that you want your transfer, just take some sharp scissors and cut your transfer out. Just make sure to be very careful. After figuring out my placement of my transfer, I used some painter's tape and I taped down the transfer as best as I could so that way it didn't slip. I've done transfers before on furniture, but this is my first time using it on a fabric type material. I'm making sure I'm holding down the transfer, and all you really need to do is take your little stick that they provide you in the container and rub the transfer on. The transfer will start to release from the film, and you know that it is on, so you can go on to the next spot. Try to work in small sections and get one part of your transfer adhered before you move on to the next. Transfers are very delicate and fragile, so sometimes if you're not careful, they will rip and tear. I was having a little bit of an issue with that on the fabric. I'm not sure if it was because it is a softer type of material I was applying the transfer to. I had great success with applying my first 3 transfers onto this chair. They went on well, and there was a very minimal amount of cracking and tearing. When I got to the back of the chair, I had a little bit more difficulty applying the transfers. One of the many joys of being a mother is you are the butt of all practical jokes. It looks like somebody stuck some type of label or something on my back. So I'm assuming they want to ship me off to Timbuktu. My next video will probably be from there. I am making sure to hold on to the transfer so it doesn't shift as I am rubbing it on. I doubled back and took my piece of plastic and pressed down on my transfer again to make sure it was adhered.
Okay, if you've gotten this far in the video and you're still watching, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But what I'm about to tell you right now is extremely important. It looks beautiful now, but let me tell you, when I started putting these flowers on, these big flowers, that is when I started having issues. I had no issues with these flowers and these green parts. It went on so good. I had no problem with adhesion, none at all. No problem with adhesion on these pieces either. But when I put on these big flowers, they wouldn't stick. They were ripping. They were like adhering to themselves. Do you want to know what I did? Well, I did what I do in every situation that starts going into the crapper. I panicked. I freaked out. I had a meltdown. I'm running around the house. I was digging through all my craft supplies, and I grabbed some of this medium. It's like Mod Podge, but better. I grabbed a handful of paints. These are all craft paints. I got black. I grabbed pink. I grabbed white. I took a paintbrush and I started just glopping this stuff on the flowers. I had 2 of them done at this point, and it was horrible. They were ripping. It was so bad. It looked like a hot mess. I put this stuff all over it. Then I started taking my paints and I just started squishing them out on my cardboard box that I was sitting on, and I took a little artist brush and I started tapping into the pinks and tapping into the whites, and I was dabbing them all over onto the transfers, trying to fix the cracks and make it look like a flower, because it was so bad. It was such a mess. Let me tell you something. It worked out. I'm so happy that it did, because at this point in my life, I was not able to turn back and change my decision. I already had the leaves down. I mean, I couldn't just have some random leaves just sitting in the middle of my chair. I had to put flowers on there. This medium soft matte gel worked so good, and come to find out, I later reread the directions on the back, and it says it's transparent, it's flexible, and it's permanent. Oh my gosh, this stuff saved my life. I was so happy I had this on hand. These are fixed. I can push on them, they're not breaking, and they're on there. They're not coming off. I wanted this chair full of beautiful flowers, but these transfers are not cheap. They're expensive, and I did not want to ruin any more of my transfers. I went back and I'm troubleshooting. I cannot figure out what is going on. Was there particles or something on my fabric? What the problem was that I waxed the fabric. People that I ordered the transfers from sent me directions. I didn't even see this until, 4 days after my little mishap. I'm going back and I'm reading on here, and it says right here, make sure your furniture is free from wax. And if you do have wax on your piece, make sure it's fully cured before you apply the transfer. I'm going to try one more thing on this chair. I am going to put a transfer on where I made my repair on the seat. I'm not going to wax it. I haven't waxed the seat yet. I'm going to go ahead and try and put that transfer on. I'm going to videotape me doing it and see if that makes a difference. I'm going to take my vacuum and I'm going to vacuum that area first before I put my transfer on, because I had sanded that fabric down to soften it. So stay tuned. I'm going to show you one more quick clip on how I do that and if it works. So fingers crossed. Okay, so I am going to put this down first, tape it on there to help it from not shifting. Actually, move it just a tiny bit here. All right, I'll put that there. Guess what? I had no issues getting that on. None. Let's see, this is a bigger piece. Let's hope this one works. All right, there we go, guys. I think I figured out the mystery. Do not wax your fabric before you put on your transfer, because that worked just fine. Do I feel like I failed? No, I don't. I don't feel like I failed at all. I ended up with a beautiful, gorgeous chair. I learned a whole bunch of stuff. I saved this thing from the depths of hell. This nasty chair is now beautiful. But I guess the biggest thing I took from my whole journey with this painting fabric upholstery and then putting a transfer on it is I learned so much. Don't be afraid to try something. Just do it. The worst thing that's going to happen is it's not going to work out, but there's always a way to fix it. Go and have fun and be creative and enjoy. I hope you loved this video, and if you did, please like it and don't forget to subscribe. Thank y'all so much. Have a great day.